thing with Firebirds, the pickups. Do you know much about Firebird pickups?
I don't know a ton. Not as much as you do.
Because they vary quite a bit. Like, completely different. Even though they're all in the same housing, I think there's 3 different types.
Okay.
And depending on the year, and it's weird, but there's a huge difference in tone.
And what people don't know or may not realize is that you have a lot of guitars. You collect guitars. You have quite an extensive collection of guitars and amps, both.
Yeah, more amps probably.
You go on a lot of amps. You want more amps than most people that I know.
Yeah, more vintage amps.
Which is a great collection.
Yeah.
So it's not like you say these things lightly.
Yeah.
You've got the real things to actually draw from.
Yeah. I've got
that's huge.
I've got a couple of 60s Firebirds.
Which is awesome.
With the Daisies, I'm also using my 54 Junior, the TV that I played with in Lizzie.
That's the one. Okay, I was going to ask you. I remember you toured with that.
And I also have 59 Junior.
Now, what pickups these days, aside from the vintage stuff, what do you favor for pickups?
Those Arcanes that you heard that are in that Les Paul are and he made the Strat pickups as well.
Oh, they sound great.
Those pickups are fantastic. He's really, really good. He actually was Tom Holmes' assistant.
Oh,
and I love Tom
that.
Holmes humbuckers. I thought were great. And the Lollars. Lollar, I think, makes fantastic stuff. And most of my guitars have Lollars.
Nice.
I also like Cream Tea. Have you checked those out?
I've heard it in one of your guitars about a year ago.
That 335.
That's the one. Yeah.
The white 335 has Cream Tea. I don't know what's up with the guy, because it's difficult to get stuff from him. They're really special pickups. I know our mutual friend Billy Gibbons was...
yeah, he's used some.
He really was into those.
You know, it's funny because in my world, guys that are really good techs at whatever they do, be it pickups or amps or any number of things, they don't usually, anyway, 90% of the time, don't tend to be the best businessmen, but they're brilliant at what they do, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's sort of rare to have someone... Most techs are kind of singular. They do their thing. They're not usually awesome at people skills. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's examples. There's rare examples. But it's always been that way. I know some of my greatest friends in the tech world are... They just don't want to deal with the other end of it. They just want to design this thing, and and that's it. They just want to have fun doing that.
Right.
And I can relate to that, as well. But for me,
it seems to me like the guys that do have success, they find one thing that's really cool.
Right.
Like Bogner. Bogner has a thing that's really cool, or Diezel. Like they found something that works, and then they're able to exploit. That, and
that's what they run with.
That's what business is. And then there's guys like you that are just all about the art.
I'm just an oddball in that sense, I guess. I'm just a huge fan of tone from one end to the other. Of cleans to,
but it's just like musicians.
In between.
It's just like musicians. Being able to step back from that, and you have the passion for the tone or the art of it, right? And then being able to step back and go, okay, now how do I exploit this? How do I it's difficult as a musician as well to be able to create something and then step back and treat it as a product. And
I was just going to say the word product because you have the artistic side of whether it's making music or not, or recording the music or making a product, but either way, it comes down to you have a product in some way, shape, or form to sell to somebody somewhere somehow, whether it's a CD that you're downloading, or music you're downloading, or a CD, or mods, or a product of amplifiers, or cabinets, or pickups. It all ends up, kind of, and it can be a hard line there, if you know what I'm saying, to try to balance
because
it well.
You really have to separate yourself from the other side.
And that's the hardest thing I think to learn.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
It's difficult.
I'm not sure if for everybody else.
For me, I think times of the day is a big deal. Like, for me to be able to do, like, daytime is business time. Like, I'm
that's how really, I look at it.
I wake up and, like, I can focus on that, where if I try and do it at night, I'm lost. But same with the opposite. If I try and to be creative. It's one thing doing sessions where you're, I don't know, there's something weird about walking into...
Studio environment is very different.
Yeah.
Than just being creative and writing songs.
Because you get in that head and you go in and do it. But when you're actually writing and creating, sometimes it's really difficult to do that for me successfully, especially when I'm on my own.
Most rock and roll happens at night.
Yeah.
You know, like shows are at night. We get used to playing at night.
I'm much more creative at night than during the day. During the day is when I'm able to focus on business stuff.
It's not like you start off going, hey, we're going to have an awesome show and we're doing it at 9 a.m.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So what new amps are you liking?
Gosh, I haven't seen a lot of new stuff lately that's come out that's been really awesome. I mean, and I don't mean that because I do
old
amps.
Stuff that you've discovered recently.
We've worked on a lot of old stuff over the years.
You see everything.
And like we did the old. It's funny. I get asked this all the time. Which year of a vintage amp, be it Fender, Vox, Marshall, or whatever have you, what's the best one? And I used to think that there were specific years you could go to and go, it's going to be great in that year. Because I would work on one and go, oh my God, this is amazing. But the more I've done it and thousands of amps later, you realize that there's tolerances to everything.
Right.
Sure. And sometimes you get a magical one in the 1959 Tweed Deluxe, the 5E3, and sometimes not, even though it's the same year, But I'm just a fan of tone, like the 5E3 Tweed Deluxes I love, and I've heard some amazing ones. You've got a great one.
The orange Tweed, I love it. But it does, like when you crank that, I prefer a Gibson cranked, a little Gibson cranked. Single 12, like an Explorer or Discoverer.
The Discoverer. There's numerous versions of that Discoverer and all those.
But those sound better to my ears cranked. They sound tighter and just, they're so aggressive sounding.
They stay together better too.
Yeah.
The 5E3 starts to kind of get really squishy.
Yeah.
The rectifier tube starts caving in if you.
But
at least sounds like it's caving in.
For clean,
fantastic.
I was talking to you before about it. I mean, I think
awesome.
That's my favorite clean amp. Is that in the studio, obviously, Deluxe.
It's a great amp, man.
Like a 59.
They did it right. Then there's some of the Vox stuff, the AC-15s with the EF86 tube. Yep. Which is great.
And the 30s and the 50s. I like a lot too.
Those are cool too.
Again, those are all over the spectrum.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some that are amazing, and then there's others that are just horrible.
It's so true.
I owned a horrible one.
So you have to wait to make that go away.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But my AC-15 is unbelievable.
And we've been, it's been over a number of years now, but especially over the last 10, I've been really taking the ones that come through that are sort of magical. You know what I mean? They feel just right. They're great to play on. The harmonic content is beautiful. No matter what you do, it's there. They sing well, cranked or not. I mean, those amps that I would call the special ones, right? That you get, and they're just, for whatever reasons, head and shoulders above. We've been documenting and blueprinting, if you will, every aspect of it. Just to go, okay, there's a great example. So somebody has one they want to send in, or they've got something that's close. You know what I mean? If everything else is in line and you can finesse it in a little bit more, that kind of thing. So we've got a lot of, I don't know if I'll call it a library, but but whatever you want to call it, of all these things that we've been doing over the years.
I would imagine that what you do is similar to, with songs, you do the same thing. You figure, you what is it?
There's a parallel.
Why does this move me the way it does? Like, why does this song make me feel this way at this point? And it's the same, I guess, with documenting. Why does this feel so good?
And that's just it. You hit it. The trick of it is that all the best test gear in the world, it won't show you how an amp feels, if it's good or bad. Right. So it comes down to just playing on it, and then if you're trying to finesse or mod or tweak or build something, get it to be a certain way. You want it to sound good, of course, but equally important is you want it to feel good. They're both on that same level of importance, if you will, and that's the trick. Or I'd almost say it's where the art form comes in.
Yeah, no, you're great at that.
And it's tricky.
That's a gift that you have for sure. You're able to. A lot of guys don't get that.
No, I mean, unless you were a player for a long time.
Right,
exactly.
They come from more of a tech
most techs,
aspect.
At least the larger majority, don't play. And those that do maybe play just enough, you know what I mean, to kind of play some chords, test some things out, but maybe haven't made records or haven't been in the recording studios as a player, you know what I mean, to know what that's like, or play live on tour and go through those things, and that, to me, that's a different thing. I mean, I came from being a recording engineer and a session player.
I was just going to say, recording engineer too, that gives you a real...
It's a whole different ball game when I hear something coming out of the speakers, because I know that it has to do two very important things, but at the same time, which is hard, is it's got to sound good, but it's got to feel good to the player. You know, to you on stage playing. If it feels great, you'll be inspired. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a tricky word, is the inspiration. You want people to be inspired.
Otherwise, we'd all be using Axe-FX.
Well, there's that.
You know?
Great unit for what it is and what it does. Would you have them?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
you've got some
I use them all the time. I use them, and I love
the effects are phenomenal too.
Yeah, the effects.
For rack mounted.
I think the effects are good. They're not.
But you've got like the best effects in the world, though.
Yeah, but they're not. But
what you do, which is
and
great.
The best amps. But those match. It comes close. It comes close. But feel wise, I mean.
It's simulating. So anytime something simulates something,
you never, as a player, like I never. It's always almost there. Like even when you're lost in a song, you're like. Sometimes it sounds, you know, with an Axe-FX, because I've done some shows with just the Axe-FX, and it sounds close. You know, it sounds really. You'll be there, and then you go for something, and you're like, what's missing? What? Oh, and then you remember, oh yeah, I'm playing through an Axe-FX, and it's a or a Kemper or
any of the digital modeling, if you will.
Yeah,
it's a different thing than a tube amp. It feels different too.
The effects are good. I don't know if the effects are great. I mean, I hear that all the time. Is it going to replace my Phase 90?
No, that's what I mean. No, you've got
it's close.
You've got some of the best stuff to choose from.
But when you start getting into effects and what makes you pick certain overdrives, you know, it's very subtle differences. I mean, you know, same with delays it's that little difference.
But it's that last 10% that's everything. That's the inspiration factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
But to others, you know,
it depends on your ear too.
Deal.
If you've got a good ear. There's the hearing of it, but it's also how does it feel as well. You're tying those two things back together. Yeah. And a real pedal, like a Phase 90, versus something simulating it, it's just entirely different circuitry. It play there.
It's just a different vibe in general.
Yep.
Different vibe in general.